I'll be honest, I have no idea how to start this. Maybe I should introduce myself first. My name is Mark Grunwald, and I am a certified geriatric nurse. Yes, I know what you're already thinking. Is he gay? Does he get a thrill from seeing elderly women naked? Believe me, I've heard all these prejudices 1,000 times, but honestly, I'm a happily married man, and why should only women be good at nursing professions? In 2019, I completed my training as the third best in the class of 28 people, so I know what I'm doing, and I've only deepened my knowledge since then. The reason I'm starting to write this blog is quite simple. I don't know what else to do, and due to confidentiality agreements and such, I can't talk to anyone about the events I experienced during war. That's why I decided to write a small, as anonymous as possible, blog to just let go of all the stuff that happens to me daily in the nursing home. Well, not everything, but you'll see why I choose a ghost as the header of this blog. And without further ado, let me tell you about my first night at the nursing home where I currently work. I also did my training here, so I already knew exactly how things go in different shifts. The morning shift was never my favorite, so I preferred to take on the late or night shifts. Of course, I understand that life is not a wish concert, so I never really complained when my nursing management assigned me to the morning shift. If it happened, then so be it. But about a month after I was hired as a certified nurse, 1 month after my exam, there it was, the night shift on my schedule. Luckily, I had already shadowed one of the night nurses a few times during my training, so I knew the procedures and rules of the night shift. This particularly because on my first night, my nursing management didn't assign an experienced sister or nurse to work with me, as was usually the case. I was supposed to handle the entire nursing home all by myself. For this, you need to know that it's usually customary in our nursing home to have a certified nurse on site, and each 2 living areas are covered by a nursing assistant. Since we have 4 living areas, that would mean 1 certified nurse and 2 assistants or aides. I am aware that this is not entirely legal, but what can you do? Certified nursing staff doesn't grow on trees, and let's be honest, only a few people want to do this job for the low wages we sometimes get, especially in geriatric care. So I prepared myself to run back and forth all night because I had no assistants to help me with the actual nursing tasks. This bothered me a bit because, as I mentioned, it was not at all usual. When I arrived at the nursing home around 9 p.m., most of my colleagues had already gone home, and now I had to go from living area to living area and listen to what happened during the day and which residents I needed to pay special attention to. Nothing unusual, but quite time-consuming since I was alone. The colleagues in the 4th area were a little annoyed because they also wanted to go home finally, but they understood my explanation, and I got away with it with just a proverbial black eye. Not much happened that day. Mr. Mayerner from the 1st area had fallen and broken his hip, so he was in hospital until further notice. Miss Suman from the 4th area had been found unconscious, so she was also sent to hospital. From what we knew so far, she had suffered a stroke. Other than that, as my colleagues told me, everything was as usual. I just had to make sure that Miss Demeter from the 2nd area couldn't startle me, as she often sneaked around the corners at night like a cat. Her thing never wanted to scare anyone, but, or so I was told, it could be a heart-stopping moment when you turn a corner and suddenly she's there. After my colleagues had gone home, I started my first round, distributing the night medications. This way, I could also check if all the patients were in their rooms, and if they needed anything. This seemed to be the case, except for Miss Garrett from the 3rd area. However, she didn't want anything wild either. She just asked me to fetch another pillow from the storage room and place it under her legs. All in all, it was a quiet night. Even Miss Demeter seemed to spend the night in her room, at least until around 3 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting in the staff room of living area 2, writing some reports. When I heard her in the hallway, she seemed to be talking to someone. This surprised me because she usually seemed to sneak around to avoid waking everyone up. Miss Demeter? I called out softly as I left the staff room to check on her and escort her back to her room. Mark, my boy, how nice to see you. Come, sit with us, she said with a smile on her lips. She was sitting in one of our small seating areas and gestured to one of the empty chairs. No one else seemed to be there with her. I'd love to, but I have some things to do. How about we do that another time? Right now I'd like to escort you back to your room so you can rest well for tomorrow. I replied as I made my way to her. Miss Demeter came along without discussion, but seemed to bid farewell to another person. I made a mental note of this because, although she had shown signs of dementia before, she had never suffered from visual hallucinations. The morning shift would need to contact her doctor to address it if necessary. Hardly had I put Miss Demeter back to bed and left her when the alarm rang. For those of you who don't know what this means or how it's triggered, here's a brief explanation. An alarm indicates that a staff member or resident urgently needs help and is triggered when the call bell is pressed while the presence light is on, or when the call bell is pressed rapidly in succession. I looked at my phone to see which room was signaling the alarm. On the screen, one room number after another appeared. As I rushed back towards the staff room to check on I saw on the display which hangs in the hall, so the staff without phones can also see that alarm is ringing on the living area, that all rooms in Area 2 were signaling the alarm. I rushed into the staff room and checked the computer. According to the display, the alarms was ringing throughout the entire facility, and if I didn't respond quickly, the system was programmed to automatically log the incident and send a notification to the fire department. So I ran from room to room, deactivating the alarms, checking if the residents were okay, and running to the next one. I managed to silence all the call bells in less than 10 minutes, but as I knew, it wasn't fast enough. Barely had I locked Mr. Mariner's room after deactivating the alarm when my phone rang. This time, however, it was to inform me that someone had activated the call bell at the main entrance. Darn it! I cursed to myself as I went to the main entrance to explain to the emergency responders that it was a malfunction in our system and that there was no emergency. You might wonder why I didn't do this through a phone call shortly after I saw the call bells go off simultaneously. But how could I be sure that there wasn't really an emergency somewhere? The paramedics were not at all thrilled that they had to come out with 4 ambulances for nothing, but they understood that it wasn't my fault. As usual in such cases, a police vehicle was also on site, and the officers insisted on taking my personal details and doing a tour of the nursing home, just to make sure that I was indeed working there, and that nothing had actually happened. I had no choice but to allow this, and under the escort of one officer, I retrieved my identification from my locker. On the way back to the staff room, we passed by Mr. Mariner's room again, and the accompanying officer suddenly cursed before landing face first on the floor. He was walking behind me, and I could swear that as I passed the door, there was nothing there that he could have tripped over. But when I turned around to see what caused his outburst, I saw several large and smaller suitcases in front of the door. The officer had tripped over one of the smaller ones, spilling its contents across the hallway. I recognized the photos and even the alarm clock that now lay on the floor in front of me because I had seen them a few minutes earlier. They belonged to Mr. Mariner. As I learned just before the end of my shift, Mr. Mariner had been pronounced dead at 2:45 a.m. due to the complications with his fracture. Apparently, the responsible surgeon was out of the country and wouldn't return until the next day, so they hadn't transferred him to another hospital. During the night, a part of the broken bone had pierced his femoral artery, one of the main arteries, and he had bled internally. Shortly after ending the conversation with the hospital, I remember that Mr. Mariner had told me when he moved in that if he ever moved out again, he wouldn't need anyone's help. He could pack on his own.